Daniel's boots crunched against the dusty soil of the outer colony. The sun had barely risen, but the air was already thick with heat, carrying the faint smell of machinery and metal from the distant industrial complexes. He walked slowly, his rifle slung across his back, eyes scanning the horizon. Patrols like this were routine, boring in their repetition, but Daniel always kept his mind alert. He had learned the hard way that danger often came when least expected. The colony, a scattering of small domes and metal structures, seemed quiet. People were beginning their day, moving between habitat modules and workstations, unaware of the dark threat that was slowly approaching. Daniel's comm device beeped, a faint, irregular signal that caught his attention. It was weak, almost indistinguishable from the static that often plagued these outer sectors. Yet there was something urgent in the pattern, something that made his chest tighten. He followed the signal, moving toward the rocky cliffs that bordered the colony. The terrain was jagged, forcing him to step carefully to avoid slipping. As he approached a small ravine, the signal grew stronger. He crouched, listening. There was a faint, high-pitched whimper, almost inaudible over the wind. He froze. "Hello?" he called softly, lowering his rifle. The whimpering stopped, then started again, urgent and desperate. Daniel moved closer, heart pounding. That's when he saw her, a small, trembling creature hiding behind a rock, her skin pale with a faint glow, eyes wide and terrified. She could not have been more than 5 feet tall, but she carried an innocence and fragility that made Daniel instinctively protective. The child, Daniel realized, was alien. Her body was slight, with delicate features unlike any species he had seen. Yet her fear was universally human. The way she flinched at his approach made his heart tighten. He crouched lower, extending his hand slowly. "It's okay," he said gently. "I'm not going to hurt you." She shook her head violently, pressing herself against the rock. Her eyes darted around, and Daniel realized she wasn't alone. Figures moved in the shadows, tall, imposing, armed raiders. They were not from this colony. Daniel's pulse quickened. He had no reinforcements, no backup, and only his wits and rifle to protect both himself and the child. He glanced around, noting the terrain. Rocks and narrow ledges offered some cover, but nowhere to escape. He had to act fast. "Come on," he whispered to the child. "We have to move." She hesitated. Then, perhaps sensing his sincerity, she rose slightly. Daniel grabbed her hand. The moment they started moving, the raiders emerged from the shadows. They were brutal-looking, with jagged armor and sharp weapons. One of them lunged, swinging a blade toward Daniel. He ducked, firing a warning shot, but there were too many. The fight began. Daniel's training kicked in. He dodged, blocked, and countered with precision. He managed to fend off the first attacker, but another struck, piercing his shoulder. Pain flared, but he ignored it. The child's small hands trembled against his arm, but he whispered, "Stay close. Don't let go." They moved across the rocks, Daniel using his rifle as both weapon and shield. Another attacker slashed at him, and he took a deep stab in his side. Blood seeped through his uniform, but he gritted his teeth, keeping his focus on protecting the child. He could not afford to falter. Not now. The battle grew worse. He counted, first stab, second, third. Pain radiated through his body, but adrenaline carried him forward. The child's fear was palpable, her small body trembling against him. He shouted to her, guiding her over jagged rocks, urging her to keep moving even as the attackers pressed in. Fourth, fifth, sixth. Each wound was deeper, each breath more labored. Then came the 7th and 8th. Daniel stumbled, nearly falling, and the world spun around him. He could see the child ahead, hesitating, terrified. One final push of will, and he lunged forward, placing himself between the child and the last attacker. With a desperate effort, he struck the enemy down, but the exertion left him gasping, blood dripping, vision dimming. He felt the child slip from his grasp for a moment, but instinctively he held her close, absorbing the final blows meant for her. His body went limp, his consciousness fading. The last thing he saw before darkness claimed him was the child's eyes, wide with fear and awe. Somewhere in the distance, a strange light flared. Daniel did not see it clearly, but it enveloped him and the child. The pain faded, replaced by a warmth he could not explain, and then he was gone from the ravine, unconscious, caught in a strange in-between state that felt like floating. When he awoke, it was not the ravine that greeted him, but a small, quiet room in his own quarters. His body ached in ways he had never felt before. He tried to move, but pain shot through his chest and sides, Slowly, reality came back, the colony, the patrol, the fight. But there was no sign of the child. No sign of the attackers. He struggled to his feet, leaning against the wall. Every movement reminded him of the 8 stabs, the life and death struggle he had endured. And then he heard it, a low, deliberate footstep outside his door. 1, 2, then more, echoing through the narrow corridor. Heavy, precise, almost mechanical. Daniel froze. His rifle was across the room. He glanced at it, then back at the door. There was no ordinary human walking in. He could feel it. The rhythm of the steps, the weight behind them. It was something else. Something not of this world. The door handle moved. Slowly. Daniel raised his hands, unsure if he was preparing to defend himself or surrender. The door opened and his eyes widened in disbelief. Standing there were beings unlike anything he had ever imagined. Tall, armored, and silent, their forms radiated strength and discipline. Their armor gleamed in the dim light, decorated with patterns that seemed to shift subtly as if alive. Weapons hung at their sides, clearly advanced beyond human technology. Their eyes, though covered by visors, seemed to penetrate him, reading his thoughts, his fears, his courage. Daniel's mind raced. Were they here to punish him? To arrest him, or to thank him? One of them stepped forward, moving with careful precision. He raised a hand, and a small device on his wrist projected light, forming symbols and sounds Daniel could barely comprehend. The translation was rudimentary, but the meaning became clear. You saved her, the device finally produced in clear human speech. You protected the child. You are honored. Daniel blinked, trying to process the words. Honored? I don't understand. The alien lowered its hand slightly. Another behind him spoke through the device. Her life is vital. You preserved it. Your courage is recognized. Daniel staggered back, trying to comprehend. He had simply acted on instinct, on the need to protect a helpless child. But these beings, these elite soldiers of a far-reaching alien civilization, were treating him with a respect he had never experienced. Where is she? He asked, voice hoarse, trembling. She is safe, the device translated, among her people. You will meet her again. Your actions have consequences, beyond your understanding. Daniel's heart pounded. He felt relief, but also a surge of awe. His ordinary life, the life of a small, low-ranking human on a remote colony, had intersected with something much larger, something extraordinary. He had acted with courage and humanity, and now the galaxy was responding. The aliens did not speak again, but their presence was enough. Daniel could feel the weight of history in the room, the recognition of something far greater than himself. He understood that his life had changed irrevocably. The child he had saved was no ordinary being, and the beings before him were no ordinary soldiers. Humanity had left its mark here through his actions. He sank to the floor, exhausted, still processing the events. His mind replayed the battle, the pain, the fear in the child's eyes, and the strange light that had enveloped him. Somehow he had survived, and somehow he had done something monumental without even realizing it. The footsteps moved away. Daniel looked at the doorway, knowing this was only the beginning. The universe was wider, stranger, and far more dangerous than he had ever imagined. But now he had a place in it, a testament to human courage, ingenuity, and compassion. As he lay back, closing his eyes, he felt a flicker of hope. Somehow, ordinary humans like him could stand against the impossible. Somehow humanity could leave a mark among the stars. And somewhere, far beyond the colony, a child watched the stars, safe, knowing that a human had risked everything to protect her. Daniel's journey had just begun. Daniel sat on the edge of his cot, still feeling the pain from the 8 stabs that had nearly ended his life. His body ached, but the presence of the alien soldiers outside his door kept his mind alert. They did not move like ordinary humans. Every gesture was calculated, precise, full of authority and control. Their armor reflected the dim light of his quarters, the patterns seeming to shift as he looked at them. Daniel's heart pounded. He had survived, but now he faced something far beyond his understanding. One of the soldiers stepped forward, lowering his weapon slightly. The translator device on his wrist projected words in calm human speech. You are recognized. Your actions have changed the fate of many. Daniel swallowed hard. I didn't do anything heroic. I was just trying to save a child. The alien's posture did not change. That is exactly why it is heroic. Your species is small, fragile, Yet you act with courage that exceeds expectation. That courage saved a life vital to our people. Daniel's mind spun, vital to their people. He remembered the child, the small, glowing alien girl, frightened and clinging to him. He could still feel her tiny hands trembling against his chest. He had acted instinctively, but now he realized the stakes had been far greater than he imagined. Who is she? He asked, voice shaking. The alien soldier's device projected an image. A holographic display appeared in the room, showing a small, delicate figure, the child, surrounded by a protective aura of light. She was being tended to by others of her kind, taller, more imposing and fully armored, yet careful and reverent in their movements. She is Lyra, the device translated. She carries the future of our civilization. Your intervention preserved her life. Without you, she would not have survived the raid. You acted when all others could not. Daniel's chest tightened. He had never felt so small and so significant at the same time. He had faced death, taken 8 stabs, and yet here he was, alive, recognized by beings far more advanced than humans. Why? Why are you here? Daniel asked, gesturing at the soldiers. Why come to me? One of them stepped closer, the translator clicking softly. To show gratitude, to ensure that humanity understands the weight of its actions. You have proven the value of your species in the eyes of our people. You are invited. Daniel's brow furrowed. Invited to what? To meet the council, the device translated. To witness, if you survive, the decision your actions have earned. Daniel's heart skipped a beat. Council? Decision? He realized he had stumbled into something far larger than himself. He was not just a human on a remote colony anymore. His courage had ripple effects across the stars. The soldiers motioned for him to follow. He struggled to his feet, each movement sending waves of pain through his body, but determination carried him forward. They led him out of the quarters and down long corridors filled with advanced technology that Daniel could barely comprehend. Doors slid open with a whisper, panels glowed with information, and he felt a strange mixture of fear and awe. Finally, they reached a transport. It hovered silently, unlike any human craft, and the soldiers gestured for him to enter. Hesitant but obedient, Daniel stepped inside. The interior was sleek, minimalistic, and surprisingly spacious. Seats and consoles were integrated seamlessly, and the soft hum of the engines reverberated through his chest. The craft lifted smoothly, and Daniel watched the colony fade below. He saw mountains, deserts, and oceans that seemed so familiar yet so small from this height. His thoughts went to the child, to the raid, to the pain and fear he had endured, and he realized that through it all, humanity had triumphed. Not through technology or strength, but through courage, compassion, and action. The transport moved faster than anything he had ever experienced. Stars streaked past, the black void of space stretching infinitely around them. Daniel gripped the edge of his seat. The alien soldiers remained silent, their presence both reassuring and intimidating. After what felt like hours, the craft slowed, entering orbit around a massive, ring-shaped structure that glowed with blue energy. It was unlike anything Daniel had ever seen, vast, intricate, and alive in its own way. The soldiers gestured for him to leave the craft. Daniel stepped onto the platform, looking out at the structure. His jaw dropped. "This is incredible," he whispered. One of the soldiers nodded. "You are not yet aware of the full scale. Come." They led him through halls that shimmered with energy and light. Beings of all shapes and sizes moved around, some humanoid, others completely alien, yet all exuding intelligence and power. Daniel felt his confidence waver, but he reminded himself he had survived before. He could survive here. At last they reached a large chamber. At the center was a throne-like structure, elevated, surrounded by a council of aliens. Each member exuded authority. Their eyes studied him, yet there was no hostility. Instead, he felt respect, curiosity, and expectation. The tallest member, whose presence dominated the room, spoke through the translator. "Daniel of Earth, you have acted with courage that transcends your species. You saved Lyra, the child of our most revered lineage. You have proven that humanity has value beyond its size and strength. You are honored." Daniel swallowed hard. I only did what I had to do. I never imagined." "Imagination is the beginning of understanding," the alien replied. "You acted without hesitation when hesitation could have cost a life. That is a rare quality. You have earned the right to witness our ways, to learn, and perhaps to aid us in future endeavors. Daniel felt a mixture of pride and disbelief. He had always known humans were capable of bravery, but to hear it acknowledged by a civilization so far advanced, it was overwhelming. Another member of the council spoke, softer this time. Your courage has bridged worlds. Your actions have ensured that Lyra may grow, learn, and lead her people, and in doing so, you have left a mark on the stars. Daniel's mind wandered to the child. He imagined her safe, growing, unaware of the danger she had faced. He realized that his suffering, his pain, had not been meaningless. He had saved a life, and that life now carried hope, promise, and the future of an entire civilization. One of the elite soldiers stepped forward. You are invited to remain with us, Daniel, to learn our ways and to serve as a representative of your people. Your courage has earned trust, and trust is rare among civilizations. Daniel hesitated. Humanity was small, fragile, and often overlooked. But this was a chance, an opportunity to make a difference beyond his world, to show that humans were more than they seemed. I will try, he said finally, voice firm. I will do what I can, the council nodded. Then you are accepted. Humanity has a friend in our civilization, and you, Daniel, have become a bridge between our worlds. Daniel felt a strange calm settle over him. His body still ached, his wounds reminded him of his mortality, but his spirit felt renewed. He had faced death for a child he barely knew, and now he had earned recognition and respect from beings far beyond anything he had imagined. As he looked around the chamber, he realized that this was only the beginning. There were challenges ahead, decisions to make, and responsibilities he had never expected. But he was ready. For the first time in his life, Daniel felt that humanity, fragile, small, but brave, could stand among the stars. The council concluded their meeting, and the elite soldiers escorted him to a private quarters aboard the alien structure. Daniel sat, finally allowing his mind to rest. He thought of the child, of the fight, of the pain, and of the courage that had carried him through. Somewhere far away, Lyra slept peacefully, protected by her people. And somewhere in the stars, Daniel understood that his actions had not only saved a life, they had changed the course of events on a scale he could barely comprehend. For the first time, Daniel smiled. Humanity had shown its worth, and he had been the instrument. The universe was vast, dangerous, and full of unknowns. But he had proved one thing: human courage, ingenuity, and compassion could bridge worlds, save lives, and leave a mark on the galaxy. Daniel lay back, letting the soft hum of the alien structure soothe his aching body. He thought of Earth, of his colony, of the fight in the ravine. He realized that every choice, every act of courage, could have consequences far beyond one person, one planet, or one species. He had survived. He had protected a life, and he had earned a place among the stars. The adventure was far from over. But Daniel knew one truth for certain. Humanity had a voice in the universe, and through courage and heart, that voice could echo across the stars. This completes part 2 in around 2,000 words, in third person simple N,